Alright, what is going on, guys? Welcome to part 2 of the easiest, pretty poorly explained guide by and someone who has no idea in music theory. Last time I was just kind of getting you introduced to the UI. So let me make a new project. So before I go into anything, I really want you guys, especially if you're complete beginners, I want you to get used to the UI. Mess around with it, experiment. You're not gonna mess anything up. I also, if you're a complete beginner, I really advise you mess around with some loops first and kind of focus on your drums and your bass, especially for like trap and hip hop, because when you don't know music theory, it gets kind of tricky for making melodies and so on and so forth. So, let me put you guys on. So, there's a website called Sample Focus. Now, it's free and everything. You got to sign in. But there's all kinds of samples. And, if you can think of it, there's probably going to be a sample on here of it. Now, you only have a certain amount of credits per week, I believe. But it's great. Whenever I'm kind of, running out of ideas for stuff, this is what I use. But also, like I said, if you're a complete beginner, I highly recommend you use it. So, real quick, I just kind of looked and found this one. I'm just going to use this for an example. Well, that one's pretty nice as well, but I'm just going to use this one. So, click on download. So we can see that it says it is 91 BPM, and it is in the key of C major. So, don't get overwhelmed or nothing, trust me. So first, before we drag it, actually no, there's two methods you can do before you drag a sample in. You can see that it's 91 BPM, and we can go back in FL and adjust our BPM right here to 91, which that's going to be the easiest method. So if you see and we drag it in, it should just already be lined up. And if we click on the tempo tapper and song, you can see it's lined up. Another way to do it is, let's say we're back at 130 and we drag it in. It's not going to be lined up. It's off. So there's a lot of tools here. This one is going to be your friend. But before we do anything, we need to click on the sample and click on stretch. That's going to make sure it keeps the pitch and it doesn't, slow it down, or it just keeps the pitch pretty much. And also, don't worry, our instruments are still here. You just have to click, through audio and all. So, pretty much, we'll have to drag it around. And also, this is going to be the locking. So, when it's online and you try to drag it, you see it clips or it locks. If you click on none, then it doesn't. Typically, if you can see where it's like kind of off a little bit, like it's not like lined up perfectly, I just turn it to none. But you'll want to sit here and kind of listen. Just listen. To where it sounds lined up. Okay, so as we sped up, okay, right there, you can see I just listened for it and I sped it up. But now it's lined up. So we're going to want to trim that part, and then we'll have a perfect loop. So there is our melody, or I guess it would be. It's going to be our sample. So if you click on it here, and remember you applied stretch, you can pitch it up, pitch it down, reverse it, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to keep it pitched down. I like the way that sounds more. All right. So now that we have this, let's get into the beat. So do not use these. These don't sound very good. For like, trap, as a matter of fact, you can just go ahead and delete all of these. So let's go in here and rename the pattern. We'll do one, and we'll call this hi-hat and kick. So I'm going to put 2 instruments in one track just because, or better yet, this is how I normally do it actually. I'll do beat for a track, and then I'll do the 808s in a different track. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this here, and we're just going to make it 4 bars long. Sample's 8 bars. So anyways, so now I want you to go back into sample focus, and I want you to find an 808. Find a good one, just whatever you want. If they'll, anything. Like that's a little too much. That's all right. I really like that one, but I've already got some. So, and then type in, you need a clap. Get you a good little trap clap. Something like those. And get a hi-hat. Yeah, something like that would be okay. And get a kick. Preferably like a short, punchy kick. Like that. And an open hat. Just anything, whatever you prefer. Like that's perfect. So now, when I want you to go to your downloads, and if you remember how I dragged this in here, you want to drag, like let's say I have my kick here. I want you to drag it in and put it here. Not here, put it here. It'll create it as like a, it'll put it as an instrument instead of a audio clip. So we're going to go to, okay, so I've got them put in my files over here, so I'm gonna dig through and find, let's see, okay, here. Okay, I'm just gonna drag this in here. So there's my 808. There's gonna be my clap. There's gonna be my hi-hat. Now, this is all I'm gonna use for now because I don't want to overcomplicate it. If this little series does good, I'll get more and more in depth, yada yada. But having a kick and the 808, typically, you kind of want to do a switch up on them or have them laid out perfectly because they will sound kind of rough together. So let's start off with the hi-hat and the clap. So typically, like if you're a complete beginner, keep it simple. C5 is going to be your regular pitch note in this case. So you can use the paint tool, and if we click on pattern, we have a little hi-hat pattern. So you can close that. You can keep it playing and piano roll the clap. You want to drag your claps in. There's only 2 clap patterns. Typically, this is going to be the most common when used, you know, right in the middle of 1 and 2, or right in the middle of any of them. That's going to be your most common, but there is also, like, double time variation, I guess. It makes it more, like, bouncy, I guess. But I'm just going to use this. So as you can see, okay, let me shorten that. Now if we click song, we got a little bit of something. Not bad, really simple, not bad. Typically you also want to kind of, you know, quiet down your hi-hat here. So next we're going to click on find next empty, and we'll call this one 808s. Oh, whoops. 808s. And, you know, click in the arrangement so it doesn't disappear. I don't make this too long. Or, yeah, what is that? Four measures, I think is a measure. Oh, shit, I don't know. So now if we go to piano roll and we go to the 808s, you can hear they're bleeding. So like if you wanted to do something like this, it's kind of hard to hear because of this specific 808, but they'll bleed. You know, they'll one won't finish when the other is still going, if that makes any sense. So now for your 808s, you want to leave it on resample. If you put it on stretch, it'll just like lower the quality a lot. So let it resample. So you want to click on here, and you want to drag your attack down so there's no attack. And as you can see, we have no bleeding. So now I'm going to get more in depth into it, but for now, like I said, I want to keep it simple. It is C major, but like I said, I want to keep it really simple. Next video, I'm going to go over, you know, the more complex, getting it in the right pitch. But for now, if you're a complete beginner, just click around till you find it that sounds good. So I'm going to disable that for now, so that way we can, trust me, from a guy who doesn't know music theory, and I'm just now starting to get into understanding, you know, the pitches and stuff, this is what I always did. I would play the sample and repeat while I typed in my 808 pattern until I got something that sounded good. Good to me anyways. Anyways, the video's getting kind of long, so I'm going to try to wrap this up. So with 808s, you can play around with them quite a bit. You know, you can do like this. This is a pretty common 808 for one measure. And there's also but yeah, just play around with it. So now let's get a good 808 pattern put in here. Okay, that F sounded good. So now let's say we want to do this. Okay, you see that sounded pretty good. So I'm just going to double that, and we're going to select this tool right here, select it, Control C, Control V, and we duplicated it. So let's drag that down to D, and now I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Now we have this. This might be off. Okay, no. We're just going to leave it there for now. Like I said, you kind of have to play around, especially without, you know, music theory knowledge, and get them lined up, or whatever sounds good to you, you know. So now if we click on the whole thing, you know, let's say we want to do it like that. This is what we'll have. Now let's say we want to make it longer. We could just click on them and click, you know, click again. And now, you know, it'll be longer. Okay, so if you're using the trial version and you want to export this as an MP3 or something, you just click up here and click export and then MP3, and then you just name it whatever, select wherever, and you're good to go. If you have the full version or a PIRATED copy of FL Studio like I do, not definitely, you just, you know, you can just click save as, and same thing, just save the project, name it whatever, and that's it. So I'm gonna wrap this tutorial up here. On the next one, I think I'm gonna keep it pretty short and simple, but I will go over getting things corrected with like pitch and whatnot. So